always make sure that you first and foremost determine what's your priorities. Hi WCT-NCR, my name is Diane Watson and welcome to my masterclass on how to overcome roadblocks and build bridges. I am a program manager at Nokia Canada, and I'm also a member of their women's employee resource group called StrongHer Canada. And I have been the chair of the Women in Communication and Technology WCT National Capital Region branch for the past year. It's an amazing group of women, and the main goal of that particular organization is to support women in communication and technology. I'm an immigrant. I came to Canada several years ago from Jamaica, and it's interesting because, for Canadians that have lived here all their lives, have well-established networks, have the Canadian education, it's amazing to see that, that's their reality. So imagine an immigrant with no network, no Canadian experience, no Canadian education. That's instantly a barrier that they will have to overcome through no fault of their own. So you have to start over literally in a new country, and you may not have the networks to help you on that journey. So that's where it becomes a lot more difficult because of the system that exists. And that's just the reality of the landscape. The good news is that there are a lot of organizations that are breaking down those systems. And how do you find those organizations that are all about diversity and inclusion? However, I think the good news is that that's something that is being broken down, and we have to continue on that journey together. Women face a lot of barriers, and it's piled on. So you already feel isolated. You feel you don't have the networks, you don't feel like you belong. On top of that, if you face microaggressions and probably downright discrimination, and it's different for different people, but it does affect everybody differently. And one of the things I believe will help tremendously is to find support. This is not something that I believe women should go on and try to deal with on their own. Find support, also find opportunities to do your own self-care, and also to take care of your mental health. If it happens to be a scenario where it's a toxic environment, that's when you need to determine, is it time to exit? Because that's the worst thing that you want, to be in a situation where you are not feeling safe, or you're not progressing, whatever that is, or you're not being utilized in your talents in the best way possible. And this is where I believe the support organizations will help to provide you with some guidance. And it has to be also people that you trust. Now, trust is tough because you have to have that relationship, and to build a relationship for something that's so personal. And that's going to be the first step, actually. But you have to recognize it first and have a sounding board to understand, is this real? Because a lot of times we make up things in our heads. I can't remember where I came across this particular quote, which basically says that you can't control what happens to you, you can control your reaction to it. So it's foolhardy to think that these challenges or these obstacles or these barriers, you overcome one, another one is gonna come. That's life. We're all coming out of a pandemic. We don't know what tomorrow is gonna bring. How you become resilient, how you find that grit, but you have to recognize it first and have a sounding board, especially for immigrants to this country. who typically come for a better life, what does that look like to you? And be laser focused on what that is, and whatever obstacles and barriers that are in your way with support organizations that will help guide you to make sure that you are successful at the end of the day. I consider myself an introvert, which means that I prefer to be in the background. I don't want to speak out, but I came across another quote: closed mouths don't get fed. So if you don't speak up, and if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't ask for what you want, nobody will know. And a lot of women, and I've spoken to quite a few, feel that, oh, my work speaks for itself. No, that's not it. And a lot of people feel, oh, if I do this degree, or if I get this certification, no, it goes beyond that. They look on somebody else who probably is less qualified than them getting ahead. But that's not necessarily the case. You have to advocate for yourself, as hard as that is. If you're having difficulty doing that, whether it may be your personality or your culture, hire a coach, go to a mentor, practice, join an organization, and I'm not just pitching it here, like WCT, where you can gain that confidence, or you can gain that experience in advocating for yourself. And as uncomfortable as that may be, unless you ask for something, the answer is always no. So you don't assume it's no. You could get a yes. That has happened to me, where you assume it's no. And actually, I find more often than not, most persons are willing to help you. Everybody wants to help. There is this narrative out there that we are prejudging someone based on not knowing that person, that they are going to be someone who is going to put up a barrier, when if you push there, that may not be the case. But until you do it, you will never know, right? So it's frightening, especially if you're the only one. But I challenge everybody to try it and not quit. You are going to get the no's, but that's leading you to the yes. That no is probably a good no, that you just don't know until you try it. I'm also a mom and wife, and that's, I think, for most moms or women who have families, you always are faced with that tough decision. How do I balance my professional career, what I have going on personally? And it's interesting, I was actually listening to a podcast where they kind of turned that on its head about balancing, or work-life balance, and basically said there's no such thing. In other words, there are going to be points in your life where you're going to have to give 100% to your career and also 100% to your family. The balance is when to decide that this is the season for this and this is the season for that. And being true to yourself, not watching what that person is doing on social media or that person is doing on LinkedIn. You have to be true to what's happening in your life, right? All of our journeys are different. The GPS, that same GPS, will take you on different routes. There's a slow route, there's a fast route, and everybody takes different routes, the scenic route, depending on your particular situation. So it's always good to find folks that think like you to help you along that route, but I would also challenge you to find folks that are opposite to you, and they will take you on another journey, and that actually makes that, I think that makes life a lot more enjoyable. It's kind of like, trying different foods, Chinese, Japanese, Italian, so you get a much richer life. But always make sure that you first and foremost determine what's your priorities. So everybody's priority is different. I remember two colleagues where one decided after having, I think it was their third child, or to coming back to work within 3 months. Another colleague decided after the second child to become a stay-at-home mom. They both made their personal decision based on their particular situation. In my situation, I remember I had to go back to work early for my son, and I decided for my daughter to spend the year. Just be who you want to be and stay true to that, and you will be happier for it.